Welcome back to the channel. What most people on the channel are here for, the 3.6. So we are getting ready to put the 3.6 into the Mark II. And to do that, I'm going over the engine mount situation right now. I got a bunch of random stuff just laying around, but I don't want to put OEM stuff in. I do have a BFI solid front mount. I have a G60 solid rubber mount. I didn't have a rear mount. There was a guy in one of the Facebook groups before that showed using an axle flange, so an actual CV. So here's the CV, and then you just kind of weld it on top of the rear mount and to the where the bolt goes in. Just did that. Didn't take too long, but you know, it's in there. So I'm just gonna throw a coat of paint on it, clear that thread out, and then we'll be ready to put it in the car. That's what I'm doing today. This 3.6 is going in the car. We are gonna have to modify the frame, and to modify the frame, we'll just use the air hammer or hammer, because we will have to beat in somewhere on that frame rail to clear the crank pulley. I already showed you guys all the mounts for this 5-speed transmission. Everything is already in place. So if you need to check that video out, go ahead and check it out. It'll be in the description. Use these little D-rings. They're nice and easy. You can get them at Home Depot. And these guys. So remember, on Mark 3s and Mark 2s, since the support is underneath like this and not hanging up on the side of the engine bay, you have to drop it in from the top. So usually drop it in from the top, try to get the angle of the transmission in first, drop it down. But we're going to be running into the crank pulley, so we're going to have to try to mark as best we can. So we got to get it in, see where the crank pulley is going to hit, and go from there. Crank pulley always hits on Mark IIs, so we're right about there. Your best bet is to get it in there, get every mount as flat as can be, right? And push it over to where you can see the holes. You can see how far off it is. Same back there, but it's, see, so now I'm really close to the bolt hole, and we're way far away on this bolt hole, but we're pretty much dead center of it. See, the issue is crank pulley to frame rail. So if I pull this over the crank pulley is going to be right in there. So you're going to have to somehow mark above the crank pulley. Do 2 marks, you know, one where it's the closest, one where it's furthest away, and then engine out, beat the shit out of it, put it back in, and hopefully it's clear. Mark on the frame around the pulley, paint it with your fingers. So now I can take the engine back out. Here's our mark where we have to indent in. If you look down at that frame rail, you see how it's all rippled. And over here, it's getting pretty flat. So I'll just do a couple more whacks and then throw it in. Hopefully you guys can see all the clearance you have to do. Now, indent wise, you know. One of these width is about what you have to clearance. So I'm pretty confident that we beat it in enough. Big hammer's the way to go. The air hammer did nothing. I think it's like the way the air hammer works, that it like kind of bounces back off itself. Whereas with a big ass hammer, you're just using everything you got. Threw some red paint on there, so I think we're good to throw the engine back in. This isn't gonna be the last time that this is in or out, but we gotta get started on stuff. I really wanna get to that intake manifold. That's gonna be the #1 thing. If you guys forgot, I got a billet intake manifold flange. So it'll come out to about right here, and then I gotta build an intake manifold off of that. That's gonna take a ton of time, and then I have to do something with the injectors, delete them because we are going back to port injection because we were using fuel tech. I just see all the extra work that's coming. Not looking forward to it yet, but it's gotta happen. Nobody else is gonna do it for me. Always use these drift pins to kind of line the holes up. Use 3 of them, get every hole lined up so you can start every bolt by hand. See, got the front bolt in, got the rear bolt, got that rear bolt. We should be good to drop it. There it goes. It's in there. I just gotta tighten up these bolts and I'll get the crane away. We will be done with the install of the 3.6 and then we can get on to so many other things. Let me show you guys the clearance now. We have a ton of it. We'll never have an issue. We'll be able to change a belt. No problem. That's how it sits. I mean, VR is always kind of angled down. It's just how they work. But yeah, everything's bolted in. A huge milestone. Even, like I said, even though it's not the final time this is gonna be in or out, any of that kind of stuff, but it's in the car. It's beginning to look like a car at least. We just have to do some other things in the process. I chose to go the Touareg bracket way because you do not have to clearance anything for the alternator and you can still run any alternator you want. And you can still run power steering. I might try that real quick to see if the power steering pump will work because it is tight with this bar. You gotta kind of dip it down and in, so you would have to put it on after you get it in the car, which is kind of normal. So here's how everything looks from underneath the car. See the oil pan's nice, level and flat, so that'll be great. And a lot of people were asking about this bracket. A lot of people didn't think this would work because this you can buy on eBay for like 20 bucks. Most people use the 24 valve bracket and it's insanely expensive and you have to cut so much off of it. The only thing you sacrifice with this is you will not have power steering, or sorry, you will not have air conditioning, but power steering, 100% doable. Look at that. The line would be right there, line would be down there. Power steering, incoming. That I could run power steering. In the beginning, I'm gonna run that